Well, here on this week's show, we've got Nick Aguilar of multiple bands, Frankie and the Witch Fingers, Slaughterhouse. What else am I missing here, Nick?
I occasionally play in a band called Neighborhood Brats. I occasionally play in a band called Askwatch. But I would say that Frankie is my main thing these days, and I play with the other bands as much as I can whenever I'm not super slammed with my schedule. But these days I'm super slammed with my schedule, so I kind of just mostly focusing on Frankie and the Witch Fingers, and trying to enjoy my life when we're not working
And
with
how's that
records.
going?
With records, these days not so great if I'm being completely honest. But
Yeah.
you know, uh, touring season wasn't really. We weren't really touring in the first half of the year, so we weren't really making a lot of money. But starting next month, it's hopefully going to be a little bit back on track for us. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm seeing July dates for Frankie just going almost to the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much like July. Yeah, like July. We just got back from Europe, and we did like 2.5 weeks out there right before our album came out, and then we're doing a U.S. tour, another small Europe tour, another big U.S. tour, and then one more pretty big Europe tour. So yeah, for
Oh,
anyone listening who wants to maybe check out the band, just go to fatwf.com. Sorry, shameless plug. Yeah,
no, please. That's fine.
yeah,
I could even hear you drumming it too. You were a born
yeah.
percussionist there.
That's right. Yeah, since I was 10 years old.
So I happen to also know you as quite the record collector as well.
Yeah.
Which came first, your fascination with playing music or listing and even collecting music?
So I call myself a music fan first, musician second. Ever since I can remember, I was very drawn to music because of my dad, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that when I was a baby, I had colic. And for those of you who do not know what colic is, it's basically just like constant crying, and except when the baby's asleep. And I had that for the first like 3 months, and my dad would drive around playing. A lot of like tapes that he had that he loved, and he would drive me around in my car in his car, so I would eventually just fall asleep. And a lot of those records were like Deep Purple albums, Black Sabbath albums, Bruce Springsteen, Sly and the Family Stone, Rush. And Rush was actually my first concert ever when I was 8 years old, and that pretty much made me want to be a drummer. And because I already really liked music at the time because of what my dad turned me on to. And
So
yeah,
was your dad a musician or was he an active
so
listener? Like
my
where's he at?
dad, yeah, so my dad has a bit of an interesting story. He was born in '58, graduated San Pedro High School in 1976, and for those who are familiar with the Minutemen, that's where the Minutemen are from, San Pedro, California. My dad actually went to high school with those guys and graduated in the same year. He kind of knew Mike Watt, kind of knew George, kind of knew D Boone. Him and D Boone actually played like one show together when they were in high school. Because my dad plays bass and he still does to this day. Um, and they were just doing like cover songs and stuff at a party. But after my dad graduated high school, he kind of just went straight to work commercial fishing because like he didn't really know what he was doing with his life, and his brother-in-law was already like deep in the commercial fishing business. So my dad, was always a fan of music going on with his life, but he didn't pursue music at a young age. He started picking it up again, picking up the bass for fun after I was born. And he was playing
Hmm.
bass a lot around the house and, showing me songs and bands he liked. And that's kind of how I fell in love with music.
For people who may not be familiar with San Pedro, and I'm only a little bit familiar with San Pedro, we know it from Minutemen, music fans do, especially punk rock fans do, but it's also a big kind of shipping town. It's the largest port on the West Coast. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, and I do that sometimes too. Casual longshoring. Like I'm not in the union or anything, but I do occasionally go on the docks and work. That's one of my
Right.
many side jobs. Yeah.
So did you sense in your dad any regret about maybe missing out on the music muse and going into work directly?
That's kind of a good question. No one's really ever asked me that. You know, I think later in his life, there's parts of him that is definitely like disappointed that he missed out on like all the DIY and punk rock scene that was like right in his backyard. But I think he's more appreciative that I got into it on my own, just from being from San Pedro, and then me like showing him all of this, and I'm like turning him on to everything, like because he taught me so much, and I teach him a lot too with music as well. In fact,
Okay.
there's no doubt that I've surpassed him in music knowledge, and I don't mean that in like a shitty way or anything. It's just sometimes he gets mad at me when I ask him if he's heard of something. He's like, son, I don't know this. Like, cut me some slack. So, yeah. But
Okay.
yeah.
So he's kind of seeing music through you. Like,
Yeah.
the way I'm kind of reading this story is, he went to work and there were opportunities that maybe he realizes looking back he may have missed, but with you, he could actually kind of see the world through your eyes and be very encouraging from what I understand.
You couldn't have hit it more nail on the head. Yeah.
Okay. So were there a lot of records around the house as a boy?
So no, my dad mostly had cassettes because he would play them in his car. But the reason how I actually got into collecting records was, so growing up in my first house in San Pedro, we had a neighbor who lived across the street from us, and his name was Nick. And I want to say that Nick was probably like in his early 40s at this time. Nick's wife was basically fed up with all the quote unquote clutter in the house, and those were a lot of his records. And I think I was about 13 or 14 at the time, probably, maybe younger, probably like 11 or 12. Yeah, 11 or 12 for sure. And I remember he's like, my wife is making me get rid of all these, like, and, I know you have a thing for music, obviously. I know you play drums. I know you like a lot of the same stuff that I like. Come over and take what you want. So I remember I went over there with my dad, and he had a lot of records, probably not as much as I do now, but because I have a problem, much like most of the listeners on this podcast, probably, which is why it's an honor and a pleasure and a privilege to be here. But he probably had about maybe 500 records, maybe more. It was hard to remember. I was like 11 or 12 years old. And I remember I only took what I really knew at the time. And I will always kick myself for doing that, because if I could have took all of them, he probably would have said, sure, just take everything. But I remember some of the first records that I had. I'll never forget. The first record I pulled was Some Girls by the Rolling Stones, because I really liked the cover, and, it had like the pull out and it was the die cut style. And I thought that was really cool. I also pulled Physical Graffiti by Led Zeppelin because of that. Has the die cut cover. Luckily I knew who Iggy Pop was at the time, so I pulled Raw Power from there. Yeah, I don't think it was a true first or anything for you collectors listening, but still, it was.
No, but I'm
cool.
just thinking, like, being 13 and 14, and those are the records you're pulling. That's your foundation.
Yeah, that's it's hard to remember all of them. If I actually took a look at my collection, I can remember, like, yeah, I got that from Nick. And a couple other like classic rock, some Van Halen probably. But I remember specifically, I'm kicking myself to this day, because I remember, like I said, I only pulled what I knew at the time. And I remember he had Buzzcocks, Singles Going Steady. And I just was like, that's an interesting name for a band. I'm like 12 years old. I was like, I probably won't like this. And like years later, Buzzcocks are one of my fucking favorite bands. I've probably owned like 4 different copies of Singles Going Steady over the years. And yeah, so I still kick myself for, God only knows what was in there, that I probably knew most of those records now. So
Sure.
yeah. So that jump started it. That's how I got into collecting. And yeah.
So you walk across the street back to your house with, I'm assuming, a couple dozen records.
Probably like 20 something. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And
London Calling by The Clash was in there as well. I remember that.
man, you're pulling them right. Was your dad coaching? Like, take a look at that.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think my dad didn't even go. He was a longtime neighbor. I basically grew up, I think he babysat me a couple times. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So he wasn't, there wasn't someone saying, like, yeah, grab the Some Girls, but leave the emotional rescue. There wasn't
no.
You were just, okay.
No, I was just pulling off of instinct. Yeah.
Okay. So now there's a difference, obviously, between being a listener being a musician, kind of playing it, but also being a collector? Like, at what point did amassing records become important to you?
I'm glad you asked that, because I was going to naturally segue into that. You know, throughout middle school and high school, you know, I was kind of more of like a casual buyer. But then something just kind of clicked with me after I graduated high school. So I was like 18, 19. I just started collecting a lot of records by my favorite bands. You know, I had a decent setup at home with a decent turntable and some decent speakers, and I was like, you know, I'm just gonna start collecting. And up until I was about 21, 22 years old, I probably had about, I don't know, like 4 cubes worth, like the standard like colics, like probably like 4 cubes worth. And now I probably have about, let's see, 16, let's say about like, I don't know, close to 30 of those filled now. um,
Okay.
and I would say that I really started amassing my collection when the pandemic started, because um, before I was kind of like more of a casual listener, and I had so many records, and a lot of my friends and a lot of people I looked up to were DJs. And when I had nothing to do at home during the pandemic, I was thinking to myself, like, man, I'm fucking bored. I can't play. I could play drums, but I can't play shows. That was like starting to be my career at that point. I felt like I was hopeless. So I was like, well, I'm bored at home like everybody else. I'm going to start logging all of my records on Discogs and, you know, start knowing how much everything is worth. And then I started really delving into different styles of music. And I I told myself like I should teach myself how to DJ. So when things start opening up again, like I could actually go play my records for people. And then when people started noticing that, like at the record shops I was going to in Long Beach, California specifically, at like Third Eye Records or 12s, they were noticing like, oh, you're like getting more into like soul and funk and like boogie and, you know, krautrock and stuff, and a lot more psych than I was into. And like, yeah, like, you know, I've been a huge music fan my entire life, but once you actually start looking at records and discovering different genres of music, you just go down the rabbit hole like so much. Like on, you know, on the internet, you know, you start reading about certain labels, producers, and so during the pandemic, I will say like 2020, 2021, 2022, up until basically today, that's when I've basically have been I've been this collector, and, you know, I don't like to call myself a dealer per se, but I like to, you know, sell here and there and buy here and there with my friends and buyers, and, you know, because they, you know, they scratch my back, I scratch their back kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, it can get
Yeah.
very expensive, especially if you're looking for like first pressings and things like that. Especially in the last 5 years. So you seem to have gone down that rabbit hole. Is that yeah?
For sure.
Is that
And
fair?
I also got really lucky getting records for really good prices back in the early days of the pandemic, or even before the pandemic, like for really great prices that go for insane now. Like I remember I got my copy of Cro-Mag's Age of Quarrel original press for like $100 back in like 2017. And I told myself like, damn, that's a lot of money for a record. And now that's like, I'm not saying this as a flex. If anything, I should be slapping myself in the face for this, but that's nothing compared to what I paid for a record now. And, you know, like that record goes for probably like, you know, depending on who's selling it, like 200, maybe 250 if it's super clean, and it's like near mint. But you
But
know,
that's
I have
great
some,
news because I have a copy.
yeah. And like, you know, I have some rare soul records that I got for really good prices that gone up to like $500-$600 now. I was like, damn, I paid $80 for that. Like, you know. So,
What?
and
what
I pulled a lot of stuff that when we get into that section that we could start
oh,
talking
good.
about. But yeah,
Oh, good. Now you have 45s, 12
yeah,
inches. Kind of where's your collection focusing around, or does it focus?
it focuses on what I want. And I know that sounds kind of like a cop out answer, but I guess I would say that these days I'm, you know, like a lot of my life is DJing. So, you know, of course I love 45s because of that, because, you know, a lot of the times, especially if they're original, they sound better and they're cut so loud, especially shit from the 50s to the 70s, you know, and a lot of stuff in the 80s too, like a lot of like, you know, 80s, you know, disco and post punk and no wave just sounds so good on 12-inch singles and stuff like that. And, I love that. But, I would say that I don't really have a preference where I'm buying. It's just like if there's a certain record that I want, like, I have like a priority list and a specific, like, I try to be very organized because whenever I have DJ sets or whenever I'm like want to listen to a certain record, I make sure that like I'm gonna know where it is because if I don't know where it is, I freak out.
You seem to strike me as someone, just by the way you've constructed your life, you need to be organized.
Oh
You
yeah.
can't do half the things you do. Multiple bands, touring, record collecting, DJing, all these different parts of your life. You need to be like uber organized. Are you a bit of, because I'm OCD. I need to be making sure that there's a backup and a backup to the backup. And, it kind of drives me a little bit crazy a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, I've never been diagnosed with anything in my life other than IBS. So, but I'm pretty sure I have undiagnosed ADHD and OCD and stuff like that. Because yeah, I have to, as soon as something comes to my mind or like I got to do that, I write it down on my calendar, write it in the notes app, write it on my to-do list, and chop things off as they go. And that
Yeah.
goes with record. That goes with records too.
You've got like a top 10 or you got a list of ones you're looking for?
Oh man, 45s or LPs.
Well, I'm assuming both. Like when you walk into a record store, do you know exactly kind of where you're going first?
So yeah. Oh, for me, when I walk into a record store, I always go to the new arrivals first because, in my experience, that's when you're going to see the best stuff because it's there early and it's the closest to and the what's the word I'm looking for? It's not getting eaten up that quick, unless there's a local nearby.
The early birds haven't all been there yet.
Yeah, I would say that a few LPs off the top of my head. Do you know a band called The Litter from, I think they're from Minneapolis. They're like a garage band. They have that song Action Woman, also on 45, very hard to find on 45.
I've
that
heard
record?
I've heard of The Litter, yeah.
The Litter's, I think the record is called, I don't even know how to say it. It's called Distortions, I think, or Dissertations or something. That's how bad I am with names sometimes, but I would love to own that record. It's one of the, and I love like nasty, hard hitting garage, like anything that's reminiscent of the Sonics, I love. And that's kind of like that record for sure. I would absolutely love to own. I'm really into soul music, as I said. There's a guy named James Knight and the Butlers. They were a band from Miami, Florida, like in the Miami soul scene back in the late 60s, early 70s. And they have one LP on Cat called Black Knight, total holy grail record. Would absolutely love to own that. Yeah, I mean, those are just two off the top of my head.
Now, do you go to Discogs at all, or do you prefer kind of hunting in the wild?
I'm going to be completely honest. I'm constantly refreshing my Discogs want page because sometimes, every once in a while, you get lucky and there's something that pops up that never pops up. And even if it's like a ridiculous price, I've gotten lucky and been able to like talk people down or trade stuff. And yeah, but I love hunting in the wild too, as much as any other guy. There's still no better feeling in the world than finding a record that you've been wanting or a record that you didn't really necessarily want, but you know it's worth something and you find it for super cheap and you're just like, well, I'm going to flip that. Any thrift store when I'm on tour that I have time, if there's records there, I'm looking. But I'm telling you, man, maybe I'm not digging as much as the average Joe these days because I'm so busy, but man, it's getting thin out there, man. People know what's up these days, I think. And, I haven't had a Goodwill score in years.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of people are either kind of figuring out that there is a big market for records or someone's children or grandchildren are doing that. So
yeah.
I
honestly,
think that there's, yeah.
No, sorry, what were you saying?
No, I think that's, I think much of the world has been picked over. Going back to the big finds of like the early 2000s, those were like, heaven. Now it's, you're pretty much paying for everything now.
Yeah. In a way though, going off of what you said, it makes me happy in a way because I've always been anti-gatekeeper, when it comes to like rare records or cool records. I thought that made people know. I've always been a fan of, for better or for worse, spreading the knowledge of something that is dope that someone might not know about, That's why I love DJing. I love playing songs for people that they may or may not know. Obviously when you're doing it for work, you got to play the hits sometimes, but I try to sneak in some stuff that is like, whoa, who's that, kind of thing.
How about things like comps like Numero or some of the reissues that bands do? I mean, is that something that you use a lot, or do you really prefer first early pressings?
So I'm glad you said that too, because when I first started collecting, or just delving into a lot of different kinds of music in general, I would either listen to Numero comps or what's that? Well, I don't know. There's so many great reissue labels out there that I could talk about. There's Now Again. Now Again's great. Shout out Egon. There's everyone at Numero is great. There's this like one that does a lot of great psych stuff that I have a few records from, but I can't even remember the name. It's called oh man, you might know. Help me out here. Like they reissue a lot of great like psych rock and stuff, like mostly American stuff.
I'm trying to think like Sundazed or something like that.
No, not Sundazed. It's more recent. I don't know. I know we're on that time limit too. So
okay, that's okay. You'll if it pops into your head or even afterwards, send it to me. I'll put the link in the episode page.
I will. But I still have a couple of like Numero comps in my DJ box specifically too. That some certain sort of 45s are so rare on there that I'm just like. And Numero, luckily, they cut their records pretty damn nice in my opinion. So. Yeah, I've discovered a lot of my favorite music from comps like that I've listened to online or that I've bought. Yeah, especially Numero Group, man, because they dig up some of the deepest, craziest soul and funky soul I've ever heard in my life. And I'm just like, wow. Yeah.
When I see that little Numero kind of insignia, I'm like, whatever it is, it's probably coming home with me if it's a decent.
It's probably going to be good.
And they price them really fairly. Now, me living in Australia, I have fuck all chance of being able to find any of those soul records in the wild. So I need to be happy with Numero comps, but it sounds like to me like you'll hear a comp, you'll get on the scent of a song, and now that's on your want list. And when you tour around the world, you're specifically looking for some of those singles.
Oh, for sure. Like if I go into a record shop and when I'm on tour and have time, especially like when I'm in the Midwest or something, I'll always ask like, hey, do you have a rare 45 box? I always ask that first. And I've definitely gotten some good 45s off of the want list by doing that. Like, the song I'm Alive by Johnny Thunder?
Yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Nasty fuzz guitar. I got that in Portland a few years ago just because I asked. Like, hey, like you have a rare 45 box? And yeah, I got that. And it was
That's
a really good
Max's Kansas City label, isn't it?
It's on oh man, what's the label? I forgot. I should know. It's the red one. Oh, man,
Revelation, maybe.
I'll tell you right now. Like I said, I don't want to waste too much time, but I could literally pull it up and just.
So that's okay. That's okay. We can always look it up. So
that's fine.
So going into so when you're on tour, you're sound checking, then running out to a record store, and then have you ever nearly missed a gig because you were spending too much time at a record store?
No. I know I am on the road at the end of the day. I gotta be responsible. Yeah, on time and with my finances as well. But that's the thing. You hit it on the head. You don't really get a lot of time to dig, unfortunately, when you're on tour, because it's like, I gotta go to sound check, and then you might have like at the most 3 hours before you got to be back before the show. So yeah.
So you go out on tour with empty suitcases or somewhat empty suitcases. You bring back a bunch of singles, where are some of the best record shops that you've experienced so far?
I wish I knew you were going to ask me that because there's so many, man. Well, okay, I'll just go off the top of my head. My favorite record store ever is probably Breakaway in Austin, Texas. Have you been there?
Breakaway. I'm trying to. I think I've been there. I'm trying to picture it in my head.
Probably. It's kind of. I'm really bad at geography, so I couldn't really tell you what part of town it is. But luckily, people listening could just Google where a shop is, so I don't feel that bad. Breakaway in Austin. Probably one of my favorite shops I've ever been to. They kill it in the 45 game. It's just the best.
Okay.
And I
went through Austin recently. Yeah, Waterloo.
Were you there
for? Year. End of an Ear, a few others. And I'm sure I must have gone to Breakaway. I'm just trying to picture it in my head.
And
But,
like I said,
yeah.
those two you just mentioned are great too. You know, there's so many good record shops, but I have to give a shout out to Breakaway. They're the absolute best. They have great LPs too. Everything's super fairly priced. My friend Jeff owns a spot in Portland called Music History, which is somewhat new. I would say he probably has better LPs than 45s because it's more of an LP focus based shop. He's a DJ too, so Jeff, if you're listening to this, I think you're holding on to all your good 45s, which is fine. But he used to have a booth at Crossroads in Portland.
I've never been to Portland.
Oh, you never been to Portland? Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you might have been.
No.
But yeah, it's like everybody has their own space, kind of booth, kind of thing. It's all consignment kind of thing, and he has his own shop now. Love that
Okay.
spot. There's Academy Records in New York.
New York?
Yeah, definitely one of my favorites. Human Head in Brooklyn is also great. Those are the ones off the top of my head. And
So whenever you go into those, so whenever you go into those towns, you're like, I need to wiggle out some additional time. I need to wake up. I need to sleep well tonight because I got to get up early and go over to the bridge to Brooklyn.
For sure. Time and money too. Yeah.
Okay. So do you go to like record conventions at all or any record shows? I know there's quite a few in Southern California that I always tend to do pretty well at.
Yeah, so every once in a while, I like to hit the OC Record Fair in Buena Park. Have you been to that?
Oh,
Yeah.
several times. Yeah.
Yeah, super close to my house. But the problem is with those man is like no disrespect to anybody who loves going to them or I do enjoy going to them. But yeah, I'm a night owl. You got to be there at the ass crack of dawn. There's so many vendors. A lot of the times prices all over the place. I just feel like I can only look at so much stuff all day, and also, I try to be smart with my finances these days to an extent. So I just try to tell myself like if there's a record I really want, it'll come to me when the time is right.
That's good. Very
Yeah.
zen approach. By the way, when I go to the OC Record Fair, I'm in line. I'm in front of that freaking Veterans Hall at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I got myself a big McDonald's coffee or something to keep me warm. And generally the best scores are within the first 20 minutes.
Exactly. And it's hard for me to do that. I have gotten a lot of good records from my buddy Steve Cater. He has a booth there, and he's let me do like house calls at his place in San Diego, which is super rad. I did pull one of a record that I did get from him that I'm gonna try to show later. I also want to shout out the two shops I work at in Long Beach, 12s and Third Eye Records. The owner Hector of 12s. People from all around the world come to our shop. A lot of people from Japan come, and they say it's like one of the best shops they've ever been to. The Black Keys came down and spent a lot of money last year, and that was cool. Patrick and Dan came in and bought all 45s, and we were like playing stuff for them that they might like, and yeah, so that was cool. I want to shout out my friend John, who runs a thing called Mono Records out of his place in LA. Yeah.
Dude, Mono is one of those Instagram accounts that I have an alert set up. It's like, oh, Mono said, okay, what's he got?
Me too. Yeah. He turned me, he's straight up how I fell in love with African music for sure too. I have a lot of African records that I got from him. Yeah.
Yeah. He gets a lot of African records. And I don't have time to even research them before they're gone. So
yeah. Luckily, I kind of got into that stuff before and during the pandemic, so I was already sort of familiar. But yeah,
so you're always kind of like you'll find records on the road that you can flip, and so you'll put some money down and carry that around until you get the opportunity to flip it. That happens pretty regularly, yeah.
To an extent, like I said, I haven't really been touring that much these days. Well, at least the last like 6 months, so. I haven't really had too much time to dig, especially out there on the road. But yeah, every once in a while, if I see a 45 for like $1 that might be worth like 20 or sometimes $50, I'll be like, all right, cool, I'll grab that. Or, I sell at shows every once in a while too, when it's time to downgrade. I got a couple boxes of 45s for sale, some high-end stuff and some nice stuff. I mean, some cheap stuff and a few boxes
Yeah.
of LPs. But I try to only buy stuff I'm gonna keep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's the best way. Otherwise, you just get stuck with all sorts of things you're not sure what to do with, and no money. Um,
exactly.
what's the most you've ever paid for a record?
Man, dude. Do I have to answer this? Because like, if my mom listens to this, she's gonna kill me, dude. Can I?
Well,
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. I'm gonna tell you right now. And can I show it if that's all
of
right?
course, please,
Because this
absolutely.
is you wanted me to get my Holy Grail record ready,
Yeah.
and this is probably my Holy Grail record that I am the most proud to own. Where the hell is it? Oh, here it is. Car. Sorry, I
Uh
pulled it aside. It's
oh.
right here. It's called Helen Smith sings "Sweet Soul." Um,
Mhm.
Going back to what I was saying about soul music, Miami soul. Some of my favorite soul music of all time. Like I love to collect Miami funk and soul. Really quick, do you know who Blowfly was?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, Blowfly is the genius behind this record and so many records that were coming out of the Miami soul scene in the late '60s and the early '70s. Specifically, him and Willie Clark, who helped put stuff out on this label called Deep City. Numero Group has reissued a lot of their stuff.
Okay.
Um, the cool thing about this record is that Deep City only put out 45s. This is the only LP that the label put out.
Okay.
So it's really hard to find. And I actually bought it in Miami in, I want to say June of 2024. And everyone knew I wanted this record. All my friends knew I wanted this record. They were sending it to me on Instagram, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't even want to ask the guy how much it is. There's a shop in Miami called Lucky Record Shop. Are you familiar with it?
I'm not. No, I'm
Okay.
not.
Another one of the best record stores ever. The owner, Tony, I messaged him. I was going back and forth with him about price. And he was like, oh, there's a guy who's like in front of you. And I know who it was. And I'm not going to say his name because he's very popular in the vinyl community. And I don't want to throw him under the bus. But him and I were basically in a bidding war. And Tony, when I got to this certain number, he was just like, all right, I'm going to cap it off at there. And I want you to have it. I could tell you really, really want it. So he sold it to me. And he was like, do you want me to ship it? I was like, well, actually, I'm on tour right now and I'm going to be in Miami in like 2 weeks. So he held it on for me. He held it for me. And yeah, I spent $2,900 on this thing.
Ow. Yeah. Far
On,
out.
I know, horrible. Credit. I did it with credit card, and I paid it off, I think, like within a couple months. So, yeah, and my credit score is still great. So I'm not tripping, man. I told myself years ago, if there's a number one Holy Grail record that I would ever love to own, it's this. And I never thought I would see it in person. My friend Paula Puente, do you know her? She goes by Double P's.
Oh, double P's. Yeah, out of
Double
Vegas.
P's. Yes. She, I think, is originally from Miami. She told me she found this record once, like 30 years ago, digging in Miami at a thrift store. And she said she's never saw it in person ever again after
How
that.
many were made? Do you know?
No one really knows. I've looked all over. If I were to guess, maybe 500 at the most, maybe less. I don't really know. Um, yeah,
Wow.
it's
And that one looks in beautiful shape too.
to be honest, it ain't really the best. The disc plays great, like VG plus, maybe low end, maybe high end VG, lower end VG plus. And the jacket the jacket does have some love though. It says DJ copy stamped on it here and there a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely one of the best soul records ever made. Not just because it's super rare, it's incredible. Definitely my number one favorite Holy Grail record I have in my collection.
All right. Well, that's going to go on my numero git list then. Now you mentioned that has like a DJ stamp on it. Are you into finding white label promos or anything? Does that mean much to you?
Not really, honestly. I do have a couple of really cool white label promos that I did pull. I'll show you right now. This is
Yeah.
probably
Show
my
us some
favorite.
goodies here.
This is probably my favorite white label promo that I have. I'm sure you're familiar with this record.
Ah,
Um,
yeah.
Pieces of a Man by Gil Scott-Heron. And
You mean this one?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's awesome. Twins. And this one's really cool because it is a near mint, glossy cover, beautiful white label promo. And it has this awesome sticker on it, you know, those
Yeah.
promotional DJ copy that says suggested cuts for airplay, save the children, Pieces of a Man, and the revolution will not be televised. And yeah, that's probably my favorite white label promo that I have.
Where did you find that in the wild or?
No, my friend Jake had a copy for sale. I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago, and I bought it off of him for like a really good price. I think like only $150, which is
beauty.
a lot of money. But you know, for a copy like this, hard file collector copy. Going into that, you also asked me how many what records I have multiple copies of.
Yep.
I have multiple copies of this record.
Yeah. Okay.
The same Pieces of a Man, Gil Scott-Heron, because this is my DJ copy when, you know, I'm spinning, but this is like my listening to at home, you know, collector's copy. I try not to keep too many doubles because, you know, I don't want to get greedy. And yeah, same. I have 2 copies of Black Flag Damage, you know, the anti-parent sticker one, and another like kind of beat up DJ copy, because that's just like the best hardcore punk record of all time, in my opinion. Not even my favorite, but I think objectively, like when you think of American hardcore, I think Damaged is really just the way the production. Henry is like at his youngest and most angry, and it's the best. Yeah, it's the best.
Oh, I agree. It's hard to beat that one. I was recently asked like, what are my top 5 records, and most of them were albums, but then I got to Nervous Breakdown EP.
Yeah.
To me, that is, you know, that has as much power as any album, I think, and just, you know, short, sharp, and a punch in the face.
Yeah, it's perfect. You know, it's same with me for certain 45s, certain punk 45s I have too. Like one of my favorite, one of my holy grail of 45s is the first Negative Approach 45.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't have that. I would love to own that. Or the first Poison Idea 45, Pick Your King. I would love to own that. And the first Big Boy 7-inch Pratt Cars, which I've held in person when I was in Texas, and I was just like, oh, I want this so bad, but it was $2,500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those records, Negative Approach, the Coro, some of those are just like, you know what, I need to be okay with having a reissue.
Yeah, I think the first Necros 45 just recently sold for like $5,000, like something Sex Drive.
Oh, is it Necros or the Fix?
That's Necros.
Okay.
Sex Drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, $5,000. Yeah, crazy. I think even more. Misfits 45s, Cough Cool sold for $12,000. Like that EP, I love the Misfits. That EP sucks.
I know. That's if you're gonna pay 5 figures for something, it's not that one. You get a Bullet.
I would drop money on a Bullet or a Whore Business for sure. Whore Business is like some of my favorite art ever too. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever met Danzig?
Never met Danzig. Never met any of those guys. I did meet Dave Lombardo. He's a more recent member.
Right.
He was really cool. But no, I never met any of the Misfits or anyone close to being an original Misfit. No.
Yeah, he's one of my dream guests for this show. So,
I mean, dude, you've got a pretty heavy caliber. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, is possible.
It is at this point. Yeah, absolutely. Now, what other musician record nerds do you hang out with, and how do you guys kind of communicate about your collections?
I'm trying to think. Well, person off the top of my head who, if you haven't had him on the podcast yet, you definitely should. You know Mario Rubicalba?
Oh, dude, yeah.
Has he been on the podcast?
Yeah, a few times. And actually, when he comes to Sydney, I drive him and Mike around to the different record shops. And I'll do the same for you. When you guys get down to Australia, I'll make sure you go to the great places.
Good to know. Yeah, Mario is definitely my... he's a musician friend who we definitely geek out about records with each other a lot. And, you know, he might post something on his Instagram that looks that looks appealing or weird to me, and I'll be like, "Ooh, what's that?" And sometimes I post something, and he'll be like, "Ooh, what's that?" He's the reason I know Speaking of Australia, he's the reason I know who Buffalo is.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
for those who might not be familiar, Buffalo is like one of the first, I guess, proto metal hard rock bands to come out of Australia in the early '70s, and yeah, I do have an original press of Volcanic Rock on Vertigo. Yeah, one of my favorite rock records of all time. Yeah, so Mario turned me on to them. He turned me on to a band called Stone Axe, which was a very short-lived project with members of the band Josephus. Like this is like very deep, like psych metal world shit. And yeah, 45 called Slave of Fear that they reissued. And yeah, so many friends who are record collectors. My friend Dan, who plays drums in the OCs, and Paul, who plays drums in the OCs, they're both huge record collectors, and we're always geeking out about stuff with each other. I don't know. It's hard. Like I
That's
said,
interesting. There's a lot of drummers you just named, and then
I
Patrick
know.
of Black Keys. Do you think?
Yeah.
Is there a parallel? Is there a correlation? You
I
reckon?
mean, I guess so. But when you think about it, man, what musician might not be a gigantic record collector? Like I mean, Jack White, man. I'm pretty sure he's the
Yeah.
guy who spent 30 grand on that promo Velvet Underground 45 that sold on Discogs last year. I think that might have been him. I kind of heard that through the grapevine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the guy in his corner, one of the other third men, one of the guys in Third Men, Ben
Yeah.
Blackwell. He's one of the drivers of that organization. Again, drummer.
Drummer.
So
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, see,
So
I don't, maybe there is a correlation. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, that just I don't know, struck me odd. So, in your collection, like, do you have a sentimental record? One that is just, so
Yeah.
attached to you, something, it doesn't have to be valuable, but something that just means perhaps more than most of the others.
Yeah. So this record right here, The Frighteners, nothing more to say. Are you
Daptone,
familiar
yeah?
with them? Yeah, Daptone.
Yeah.
You've heard of them?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
the Frighteners were a band, I believe, from New York, active. I think they formed in the early 2010s, and they were like or like a revival, rock steady soul band. And their singer Dan Klein passed away of ALS before this album actually came out. So they never basically, if you got to see them play live, you were really lucky because they didn't blow up until after he passed away. And the reason I chose this record and why it's so sentimental to me is because I remember I bought this and I ordered it directly from Daptone when it came out. And it's definitely scratched up now because it's probably the most played collection. I mean, most played record in my collection, too. And my friend, Chris Swanson, he turned me on to these guys. And I remember I fell in love because I was like, I can't believe these guys are from like now. Like, he turned me on to them in 2016. I was like, this sounds like it was straight out of Jamaica in like 1967, produced by Cox and Dodd. Like I was like, this is incredible, and I like kind of fell in love with this record. Fast forward to 2023, my friend Chris passes away of a heart attack, and so whenever I listen to this record, I always think of him, and even before he passed away, I think this was like my most listened to record in my collection. So this is definitely like, this means a lot to me for many reasons. And, it's hard it's every time these guys come on at the bar, at the club, at the DJ set, at the restaurant, because they get played everywhere now, always think of my friend, and it does fuck me up still to this day. But yeah. I hope that answers that.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful memory. I've got a similar one with a friend of mine who's no longer around, and one of the last times we hung out, we listened to John Coltrane, "A Love Supreme," and we sat and we talked about it and everything, and then not long afterward, he wasn't around anymore, and now that record, every time it goes from movement to movement, and I recall it, and it's sad, but it's nice that I have that memory there.
It's funny you say that record too, because I know you didn't ask this before when you emailed me, but that if I had to pick an all-time favorite album, like a desert album, desert island album, it would be Love Supreme. That's probably my favorite record of all time. Yeah. I can listen to it every day. Never gets old.
Certainly in my top 5, but I got to tell you, if I was on a desert island, I would have to bring Funhouse with me.
That's in my top 5. That's in my top 5.
Yeah.
That's my favorite rock and roll record of all time. Yeah.
I even went ape. I bought the box set, the Sessions
Oh,
box
nice.
set.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find someone who wants to listen to it from beginning to end with me here in the house.
How long is it? 6 hours?
It's over that. It's 15 records, and I figured we'll start in the morning with coffee and like some breakfast, and we play one of the records, and then we talk a little bit about it, and we go to the next one. I got a nice coffee machine. We could make tacos later in the day, so it could be a whole big day. My birthday just passed, so I can't guilt anyone into doing it until this time next year.
Yeah, just wait. Ask for that for your birthday next year, man. I don't know if I would have the attention span for that, man. That's so many records.
Yeah, and so many like 15 takes of Down in the Street, but there's nothing more empowering than that song, I think.
No way. That's my favorite song on the record for sure, and I have it on 45 too. Original electric press, white label promo.
All right,
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Is that one of your precious ones, eh?
Oh, for sure. That's definitely one of my. That's definitely one of my precious ones because not only is it one of my favorite punk songs of all time, I play it a lot when I DJ. And for those who can see, I have it right here, Down on the Street, white label promo.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beauty.
And then the B-side is 1970, I Feel All Right. So it's a perfect double-sider for Stooges fans and DJs everywhere.
Now, did you find
so loud?
Did you find that in the wild, or did you trade around for that?
I bought it at a shop. I can't remember what shop I bought it at, but I remember I paid, I think, like $100 for it. Like nothing too crazy.
Oh,
but, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. You got yourself a Sonic Rendezvous band?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Stooges and MC5, you'll want to learn about the Sonic Rendezvous band.
Sonic Rendezvous band.
Yeah, city slang. It's Fred Sonic Smith of MC5. I forgot who else is on it, but they only did one song, essentially, officially, and it's the song "City Slang," and it's one of the best.
Slang.
If you like that Detroit feel,
I do.
Stooges, MC5, that'll be right up your alley.
I wrote it down. I'll check it out as soon as we're done here.
Very good. I highly recommend. So, what other interesting ones you got handy you want to share?
I'm trying to think of something that might be actually relevant to the podcast because, like I said, man, I have too many records. But I'll think of. I want to find something that is a little interesting. Okay. Here's one. You're familiar with the band Can, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The German krautrock band.
Yep.
It's kind of a double entendre. German krautrock band. Stupid. Anyways, this is an original press, German press of Eggy Bumyasi. Expensive record, hard to find clean, but it's even harder to find it with the original poster that came with it. And I don't know if you can see, but if I'm looking at my laptop right here, that is the original poster that came with it. And I have it's one of the only framed things I have in my room, other than the promotional poster of Feel the Darkness by Poison Idea. I have that framed right in front of me. But yeah, so that is really hard to find. This record, one of my favorite records of all time, probably top 10. And the fact that I have the original poster that it came with is that's there's been dealers all over the world who's like, that's impossible to find. And yeah, I got it for almost nothing compared to what it sells for with the poster. So yeah.
I had no idea the original German came with a poster.
Correct. Yeah.
Probably just a few hundred in the very beginning. So
probably. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's one that I wanted to talk about that I thought was very interesting. Another one that's definitely cool for the people, the collectors out there is I have an original Cold Fact by Rodriguez.
On Sussex?
Yeah. On Sussex, yep.
Far
right there.
Out.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say it's the cleanest copy out there. I would say it's like a nice VG, but it, plays great. A lot of those, when you think of Bill Withers records and stuff, a lot of times they're hammered, but on Sussex, they still play pretty damn good, and this plays pretty damn good. Yeah. So
Sussex is a label. I mean, they were bastards when it came to paying people, but boy, what an ear for music they had.
totally, man. Dennis Coffey, I think he was like a producer of that for that label.
Oh, was he?
I think so.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. I know he had records on that label, but also, if we have time, there is another one that I really wanted to highlight, which is a pretty interesting one. So you're familiar with Jamaican music, at least,
Very little, actually. Very little.
Well, I'm sure people listening to this podcast are. There's a vocal group from Jamaica called Carlton and the Shoes. They have a song called "Love Me Forever," which is probably their most popular tune. It's been covered many, many times over the years. One of my favorite lovers rock, or whatever you want to call it, rock steady songs of all time. And their record is pretty hard to find, but I have an interesting pressing of their record. So I have this. It's written in like pen, like just blue pen. It says Carlton and the Shoes on it. And it says, someone also wrote in pen, Studio One, the Studio One logo in the corner. And it's brown. It looks like a standard, but it's actually, if you look inside of it, it's actually another Jamaican singer, Sugar Minot, and they turned it inside out. And it's the Sugar Minot record called, I think it's called Live for I forgot what it's called. Oh man, I'm an idiot. It's called Live Loving. And I guess it was a mispress of some sort, so they turned the record inside out. And if you see on the Studio One label here, it's covered in blue pen, Live Loving by Sugar Minot, and they just got rid of the whole track listing in blue pen there on both sides. But it's actually the first Carlton and the Shoes record, which is very hard to find. So like if you throw it on, it's the Carlton and the Shoes record, Love Me Forever. So this is weird. It's super weird. I haven't found it on Popside, Grip Sweat, Discogs. I think I paid like $150 for this back in like 2020. My friend Hector, who owns 12s, the shop I work at, had this, and he knew how much I loved Carlton and the Shoes, and he was like, "Yeah, it's a weird one, but I'll sell it to you if you want it." So, yeah.
Oh. Yeah, they must have been like trying to press them and, let's hear what this sounds like. Okay, well, all we have is these labels. Let's just black that out and, make ourselves a copy.
I will say it's not the best sounding copy, so I don't know. Maybe it was a misprint of maybe it was like a defective copy. I don't really know. But all I know is it's probably the most interesting misprint that I have in my collection for sure.
Do you have any records that used to belong to prominent musicians? Another one?
Yeah.
A different one?
Yeah. I have a copy. I have an original copy of Houdini by the Melvins, signed by Dale and Buzz, not I think Lori Black, who played bass in the band for a minute. Don't have her signature on there, obviously. That belonged to man, I'm gonna sound like such a rookie here. The girl from L7, Donna Sparks, is that her name?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That belonged to her.
Donita.
Yeah. Not Donita. I'm an idiot.
It's...
Sorry. That's one off the top of my head. That's kind of, I don't want to sit here and think about it and lie, but that's like the only one I can really think of on the top of my head that belonged to somebody famous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a well-known musician,
Yeah.
I don't have anything like crazy.
I bought a bunch of Blue Notes that were part of Ira Gitler's collection. The journalist. If you look at the back of the Blue Note records, a lot of times the long text is, was on most of the records, a dissertation, a breakdown of the music or the night they played. And a lot of it was penned by Ira Gitler. And I wound up with a lot of Ira's records. I think I also have a copy of Suicide that used to belong to Martin Rev.
That's really cool.
Yeah, but there's no real kind of paperwork or provenance on it. Yeah. But that's the story I was told when I got it, and it's I got it cheap enough, and I'm okay. That story will stick to it.
Yeah, no, another killer record I would love to own an original of. It's just so expensive.
Oh, I know. So
Yeah.
when it comes to making records, the band, Frankie and the Witch Fingers is very well known for the different variants. What role does the band play? Maybe you specifically in a lot of these variants coming to be.
To be honest, I would say that it's mostly I mean, we all have like the final say, but most of the creative bones in my body come for like making music, not really necessarily like visual art. Like I love visual art and I appreciate it, but it's hard for me to kind of give an opinion on it sometimes. So I will say that it's mostly Dylan and Pickle and John and Josh in the band who kind of have most of the say of like what kind of color variants they like. But I will basically give it up to our manager and also our label manager Harry Portnoff, Greenway, who owns and operates the record label that we're on called Greenway Records, based out of New York in Brooklyn.
Yep.
And yeah, he kind of has all these ideas that come to life, and I would say that he comes up with most of the vision per se, and then he works with Dylan and Pickle to kind of like see like what we think works the best and the names of the different variants and stuff too. And and the kind of music that we make too is we have a very fan base who loves to collect stuff, and especially different variants and stuff, so it kind of comes with the territory.
Right. Okay. All right. Now, when it comes to test pressings, you strike me as probably one of the deep listeners of the band. I know when I speak to Mario, when the test pressings of Earthless stuff come in, he's like, okay, he's the guy who, Izzy and Mike do as well, but I think Mario's the deep listener of the test pressings. Is that your role at all in the band?
So to be honest, not really, because as much as I love records, I'm not really that much of an audiophile. Like as long as it sounds good to me and like I could hear everything clearly on my system, I'm not really tripping that hard. It's Josh, our guitar player, who is kind of like the guy to make sure that everything sounds really good when a test press comes in, because Josh, in addition to be probably the best guitar player I've ever played with, Josh Menashe, he also mixes our records as well after they're done. And we have our friend Nick Townsend master them. So Josh is a very hands-on with the mixing process, and he hears everything. And sometimes he points out certain things where I'm just like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. But he's the one who kind of does like the final sign off on the mixes.
Right. Okay. All right. So you've got
the test press of when we actually get the record.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you've got a set of SL 1200s, I imagine.
Correct.
DJ equipment is what you listen to, and Josh may have something a little bit different, more designed for audiophile.
To be honest, I don't know exactly what kind of turntable he has, but I'm sure it would get the job done enough to be able for him to sign off on something so important.
Well, Frankie records sound fantastic on mine, so I've got a nice audiophile system. So there's not a bad one in the bunch. What's the rarest or most collectible record that you personally are on?
Oh man, that's a good question. Probably the Australian 7-inch of her song Electricide. And it comes on green vinyl, and the only way you were able to get that was if you bought it off of us in Australia. And it's the only variant on green vinyl too, and it was only 100 copies because we did play there in 2022. Yeah.
You guys were here last year as well.
2023, not 2024. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll have to look.
I wish we were there last year. I love it there. I love it there. Yeah.
So I had tickets for Frankie and the Witch Fingers, but I had to travel, so I gave it to my wife, who had no idea who Frankie and the Witch Fingers was.
Oh, word.
And she came back, and my Christmas gift was a Frankie and the Witch Fingers gig poster.
Oh wow! Wait, was there a show in Sydney?
Yeah.
at least it was like an underground place.
Mary's Underground.
Mary's Underground. That show was one of my favorite shows I've ever played in my life. It was insane.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry I missed.
No, it's okay. No, I mean, Australia is a different, it's a different beast, man. You know.
Any plans for you guys to come back here?
At the moment, no. Theoretically, yes. Hopefully, 2026 and Japan too. We want to hit both at the same time. Hopefully.
Oh, Japan's a dangerous place for a record collector.
Yeah, don't get me started. So I've heard. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you've never been?
Oh, I've never been to Japan. No, I've only the furthest of the globe across the globe I've been is Australia. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Japan for record collecting is just it's heaven. It really is. And the details that they put on the different records and look, if once you get it booked, let me know and I'll connect you with some folks who will make sure you get shepherded to the right spots.
Hopefully, I have a lot more money by then.
How about another rarity you have you're on is mild autism.
Oh crap. I totally forgot about that. I wasn't even trying to avoid that question. Yeah, how much does that go for? I haven't looked it up. Do you have any idea off the top of your head?
Maybe $300, and it's rarely available. There's only a few hundred of those available, as I understand.
Yeah, so that was our one album that we actually pressed on vinyl. For those listening, Law is my first band, first real band that I was ever in. We recorded that record at Rancho de la Luna Studios in Joshua Tree with Dave Ketching, and it was a great. Dave Ketching used to be in Eagles of Death Metal. He has his own project called Earthlings. One of the most gem of a human beings I've ever met in my life. Shout out Dave Ketching. Anyway, our label or management put out that record. I think I don't even know if it was on a proper label per se, and I think only 100 copies were pressed, and not even a lot of people cared about us at the time. Or still do. Jacob, my singer, is the singer of Sublime now, so people are obviously more hyped on that rather than the dumb rock band that we had back in the day. So yeah, that's kind of funny to know that the few copies that are out there and actually for sale, people are holding on to them. I don't even have one, which is hilarious. Yeah, I never got one because I think I quit the band after that record came out. I never even actually got to own one. Yeah.
So there was There and Back Again. That was on vinyl as well. Controlled Substance Sound Labs. But yeah, you were involved in the whole the Skunk Records community. So that must have been quite an interesting collaboration.
Yeah, well, the thing is because of whom my singer was, Jacob, his dad was Bradley Knoll. And, Jacob Knoll, Bradley Knoll. And the guy who kind of helped put us together was a guy named Michael Miguel Happoltz, who was sort of like Sublime's de facto manager, helped them out with recording a lot back in the day, one of Brad's best friends. And Miguel is the reason why we even became a band in the first place. I was 16, Jacob was 16, I might have even been 15. And and Skunk was his label that he started with Brad. So he was kind of the sole owner. So it kind of only made sense for when we put our first release ever, it would be on Skunk Records, even though we weren't really a reggae band, even though we had some reggae or ska or, it was a weird time in my life. I was only, fresh out of high school. Yeah.
Wow. Cause listening to the Law records, you had serious chops even that early in your career.
And if I'm being real with you right now, man, I feel like I've stagnated in the last 7 years. I've been playing drums for 18 years now, and I and you're only around the same people so much, so it's hard to say it's hard to feel that you're getting better. I definitely feel like I've stagnated a little bit. I think I'm shooting myself in the foot when I say that. I need to take lessons again. I know I could be better. But yeah.
Oh, we all can, and it's always good.
That was a weird way to go off of what you were saying. I'm sorry. I should have just took the compliment. Yeah.
Well, look, I'm telling you, I think, and I think it's good it's healthy to be able to look within you and say, I could get better. or there's another level, or, I can do these things. You don't want to beat yourself up over it, but it's good to, even though you're in these bands and you're touring the world, there's always more stuff to learn and there's always more wisdom to gather. So it's a good way of, it's healthy to be able to have those feelings as long as you're not too hard on yourself.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a fine line between that. I try not to be too hard on myself with anything, but I forgot who, but I think it was Mike Watt when I was playing drums for him, because I played drums for Mike Watt for a couple of years too, in the Missing Men when Raul had a baby and couldn't really be away for that long. He told me that, I don't want to use the quote wrong, but he basically said something along the lines of like, we're all students until the day that we die. We're always learning something new, and it's true. It's very true.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've never known Mike Watt to give bad advice.
Yeah. Well, you didn't play in a band with him. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh. Very good.
All right.
Well,
he's never going to listen to this, so it's fine.
That's all right. He's got his own stuff to listen to. So Nick,
he's got his own podcast.
Yeah. I'm going to start wrapping it up. Is there anything you want to talk about we haven't talked about?
Let me think about this for a second. No, I honestly, man, I feel like, I don't want to overstay my welcome. I feel like we've hit all the checks. We've boxed everything on the check mark list. Sorry if I'm starting. I do a lot of interviews with my band. I've done a lot of interviews with like podcasts here and there, like they're more casual, but like I can't emphasize enough, Nate, and to everybody listening, like this is truly an honor. And I know that kind of sounds stupid to probably some of you guys listening, and even you, Nate, but like I'm a huge fan of this podcast, and like I treat this with utmost respect, and you got a really cool thing going on, man, and I utmost respect for that, for sure. So it means a lot. That's all I got to say.
Oh,
I'll
man,
leave you all with that.
That's very sweet, and I'm serious when I say I'm honored that you're honored, and having folks like yourself that are listeners that have come from these bands that I really admire, and in a way you guys are my heroes, just making this music that I know I can't make, but that moves me in a way that is I constantly seek. And to know that you guys are kind of listening to the frequencies I'm putting out is, on a down day, that could really turn it around.
Yeah, man. I mean, music has been the thing that's always brought me with other people, especially after high school, and even my friends then were only friends because I liked the same music as them. I mean, dude, you remember where we met, right?
Yeah, we met at the Jesus Lizard show.
That's right, at the Garden Amp last year.
Yeah, yeah. And you had absolutely bug fuck when the band came out.
Yeah, I did. I'm getting older now. I'm 28. Everyone's listening like this asshole. He's not old. He's 28. But I have to pick my battles when I'm gonna go ham in the pit. And when Jesus Lizard come to town and I have the chance to see them, I'm gonna risk it all for the Jesus Lizard. And I took a tumble on my knee pretty bad that night, actually, and it hurt for like 3 weeks. I never got it checked. Yeah, I'm off my dad's insurance now, so I got to be careful.
Yeah, you better watch out. I was looking at pictures of that gig afterward, and there's all these great pictures of, God damn it, David Yao just kind of going crazy. He's so picturesque up there. But then when I look in the crowd pictures, there's always you just kind of with these bug eyes, like like shouting the words back to him.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain bands who just, I don't know, they turn into animals when they're on stage, and they're one of those bands, and I want to be an animal when they're an animal, It's like it's like David Yao does what Iggy Pop does, but like on meth, and it's incredible. Yeah.
I get worried about David in his crowd work.
Man. He's like up there, and like, he's in great shape for his age, but I'm like, dude, come on. Like, he's like, what, 63 or something? Like, that's 5 years younger than my dad. Anyway.
Yeah. Iggy Pop's out there. He's dancing, but he's not like crowd surfing. He's not jumping into things.
Not anymore. No, he's got to be careful. Yeah.
David Yao is a full contact sport when you see a Jesus Lizard show.
Greatest man. greatest, man.
I think so. All right. Well,
Yeah.
well, do me a favor. Hang on. Afterward, I'm going to sign off, and then I'll have a quick chat with you.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
So, Nick, thank you again for coming on the show. Again, I've always wanted to have you on, and this was the right time. The new Frankie and the Witch Fingers album is out. The new Slaughterhouse record is out. I'll put links in this episode page. Anything to add? Anything coming up you want to share?
Yeah. Slaughterhouse, probably not with me behind the kit just because I'm so busy with Frankie this year. But, for listeners all around the world, we're doing 2 US tours this year, starting next month. And we're doing 2 Europe tours this year as well. So just go to our website, and you can see all of our tour dates coming up. And, I would love for y'all to come out and, support and check us out and buy a record to add to your never ending collections.
You're going to have records. You're going to have vinyl on the merch table, yeah?
Plenty of vinyl. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'm
And not
hoping
just the new record, old records as well. Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm hoping that there's going to be an Australian leg announced at some point. And again, Nick, whenever you and I get in the same geography, let's connect and we'll hit some record shops together.
Yeah, let's do it. I can't wait until then.